What's up, guys? I'm SaltEMike, and this is your Star Citizen Week in Review for May 19th, 2025. It's Invictus launch week time, and to most people's surprise, the Idris is now flyable, but what could have been one of the best events ever, it was overshadowed by drama that CIG created for themselves. All that and more on today's Week in Review. And as always, if this is your first week in review, this is where I take all of the official Star Citizen news each week, put it into one video, and share some of my opinions about it. I also live stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/SaltEMike. So stop by and say hi if you haven't yet. I really enjoy seeing you guys there. We have no sponsors this week, so if you're really enjoying the show and you want to go above and beyond, you know what to do. We do have a ton to talk about, so let's get into those patch notes. So we had a patch on a Monday, and I made a mistake last week. So the final patch from last week was actually labeled a release candidate. I don't think I said it was. And this one was labeled RC2 for release candidate 2. And then for bugs, I didn't see anything major that stuck out besides Wicklow fixes. And then Tuesday, the patch went live. So many of you are already playing or aware of the patch features since we've been talking about them for well over a month now. But we'll focus on the positive since, trust me, this episode might end up kind of spicy towards the end. Probably the best part of the patch is that you're able to quantum to any ship that you own. The patrol and ambush missions were pretty well done, but there are issues around ace pilots, I hear. Changes to the raft are absolutely fantastic, and then lowering the maneuverability of capital ships was a focus, and a lot of people seem happy with their flight situation right now. And then the Quartz SMG is the best weapon in the game. Kind of broken, actually. I heard someone killed a Gladius with one magazine, but it's super fun to use, so just needs a little bit of dialing. And then there's now an improved party launch system, which is really good, and over 200 bugs potentially fixed. So then on Thursday, that's when Invictus launch week began. And to be honest, nothing really interests me so far in the event, really, right? I don't own an Idris. I'm not going to fight bots to get one for store credit, and the Polaris can't even the event can be completed in the hangar without needing to actually be at the location. The MTC was the only new thing available at the convention on Thursday, so if you're, kind of care about ground vehicles, that was an option for you. On Sunday, it switched, so it was RSI, Origin, and Argo, and the convention hall basically stays the same as we've said, but the rentals on the kiosks are changed, so you can go in and try any of those ships. So from RSI, Origin, or Argo, and yeah, if you're interested in those, feel free to check them out, but there's no new vehicles in this day. And then when you're seeing this, it will have switched over on Monday as well. So feel free to check that out. And then Hotfix Central for Wednesday, they aimed to fix some of the more kind of pressing issues that plague the patch. PvP bounties are showing people who aren't even on your server, and a number of the missions could be nearing up to like 500. And there's a really big issue with cargo grids being offset and not working. Now, they didn't do what they normally have done that everyone kind of praised them about. As far as I'm aware, and in my experience, so please let me know if I'm wrong on this one, none of these fixes worked. And, they didn't release another one, which potentially means they might not be able to do that until there's another patch. Now, I was on Hotfix servers. I was not on Hotfix servers. So what I said about them doing things that they've never, that they just started doing that were good was taking servers down, putting the hotfix in and bringing them back up. I think because there's a sale event, they decided not to do that. And guess what? None of these worked. I don't think those are related necessarily. It probably just means a hotfix wasn't good enough. And then we had a launcher update. It's a super minor update, just fixing a bug I personally have not seen myself, but we try to include everything that is official here on Week in Review. And with that said, let's move into video updates. All right, we'll start out with one of the behind the ships. This one's for the Grey Cat MTC. So in my opinion, and not just mine, even John Crew admits it during the SCL that ground vehicles are not worth using right now. The MTC gets released with a bunch of devs explaining why you need it when you don't. But whoever designed the way the boxes are stored, you're a legend, because that is actually really cool. More of that on our ships, please. I think that would be really great. And then behind the ships, an Idris P version. So the Idris is finally here, a huge milestone for CIG, and of course, they had a behind the ships for it, right? But the biggest surprise here was that there's 2 new versions of the ship that we did not expect to see. One version has a laser beam on it, and it literally melts ships and can be fired by the pilot like the railgun, so it's pretty solo Idris, which is wild. And then there's also a torpedo version, which rivals the Polaris. I'm not sure why they would do that, because you know, these big ships, you probably want like a Polaris as a torpedo thing, and I thought the Idris was going to be the railgun thing, but yeah, now they're doing everything. And then, yeah, more on that in a little bit as well. And then they answered a question that everyone asked when the ship was released.
So what's the deal here? I thought we weren't going to release this until Squadron came out.
As Squadron has developed and the Idris has been in the PU in various guises for quite some time now, it's been quite clear internally that the 2 versions are very different things now. And it's not going to be a spoiler for Squadron. Now, even after this ship releases, it's still going to evolve further.
We've still got lots in the pipe that we want to bring to the ship for Squadron, and hopefully it will trickle through to you guys in the PU as and when we're ready to release it.
Personally, I think this is 100% a cop-out. I never thought the Idris was going to be a spoiler, or like, I never thought it was a spoiler. Since we've seen it for so long, we've had tours and seen it in game forever now. But I think the way this week went, I just don't think the reasons that were given are necessarily why this ship was sold today. I think everybody knows what the reason why is, right? Also, we'll chat about the sale itself in the other update section, so let's just move on to SCL. And SCL, if you follow my TV channel, you will know it is a repeat of a pre-recorded for the Chinese Bar Citizen Q&A. So the Chinese Bar Citizen put in questions and we get answers, right, from it. But you'll hear my feelings on that. I just don't think there should be official news or at least video content like a SCL happening at Bar Citizens, right? We've been starving for video content. Everybody has, and it just seems a little bit unfair to do that for a single part of the community, which is a bit odd. There is a lot here, though, so I'm only going to go and cut down a few really important clips and, like, not kind of like the intentions or anything that we had just talked about. So, or like a lot of these SCLs, when they're talking to communities that they're trying to court, tend to talk about things that may not actually happen. So again, the full reaction is on the TV channel. So the first clip might seem silly, but they were asked about living quarters and ships and what their intention for them long-term essentially will be. And this was their response.
Obviously, some ships don't have living quarters, and that really is a soft gate for how far and long you can use that ship. If you don't have living quarters, eventually food, drink, hygiene, and I guess tiredness sort of become your limiting factors. It really depends on the role of the ship and the type of the ship. And it's got to have a bed. If it has food, it's got to have toilets. If it's a toilet, it might as well have a shower there as well.
And this is all in preparation for gameplay systems that will come online.
Yeah, at the moment, they're very much role-play things. And we spend a lot of time internally arguing about toilets and showers.
We're not going to put a when on this, but if by the time your time here is done and my time here is done, if we don't have poop gameplay, I'm going to be...
Yeah. There'll be one other director who will be very upset about that as well if we don't have that.
So yeah, most of that made little to no sense to me, actually. You could put a lot of food and drink in a crate on a cargo grid, and showering and relieving yourself seems silly in so many situations, but the tiredness stuck out to me the most. You can't speed up time in an MMO like this. This isn't Valheim. So how would that even work? And like to gain some stamina from just kind of lying down and resting, which, you know, is also in Valheim too, right? Like I'm sure other games do this. Like, would it be more like Valheim when you're just near a campfire and gain a buff? There's ways to do it, but it's the thing that stuck out to me most because it sounds like it's in a bit of development the way he was talking about it. Next was something they sounded very detailed on, so this feels like it's farther along than I expected, and that's ballistic ammo reloading on ships.
That is something we definitely want to do. Chris mentioned this to me again last week before. going back to the previous topic about filling in the gaps, we're looking at filling in some of those gaps, and some of them are ballistic ones. And as part of the design for them, they do have, or will have, physical magazines that you can reload. So if they're on the outside of, say, your Gladius, maybe Gladius is a bad example, let's go Avenger. When they run out, you will need to go and restock. Well, if you brought spare magazines or ammo housings with you, you can go replace them. A friend could go replace them with their supplies. Not every ship will be like that. It's not, say, practical on a Hammerhead to have all 24 guns ballistic, and someone's going to spend all their time outside the ship,
right,
EVAing around in combat trying to plug magazines in. For some ships, they will have essentially an internal reloading mechanism, and that will take the format of, there will be a designated area in the ship, which should hopefully be near the cargo supply. And it's similar to how base building will work, in that you'll be taking your resources, in this case, boxes of ammo, feeding it into the machine, which will put it into the ship's internal storage, and then the ship itself will resupply to the weapons that need it. So rather than you having to manage 24 individual magazines, someone will just be feeding the crates of ammo in as needed.
Now, I mostly think this is cool. I think all ships should auto reload if they have cargo space, and they should have a place on the wall to feed the box, like he mentioned. The Avenger example given, they could do that for sure in a lot of things. Not having to do it outside would be fantastic. But the main issue here is that I think they will address at some point is more about ballistics not being great, like a choice for fights, and it's not necessarily because they run out of ammo. But correct me if I'm wrong on that one. I don't PvP very much, as you may have seen in the Atmo Esports tournament this week. So yeah, I don't know much about this mechanic necessarily, but I would just love to see reloading. I think it would be fantastic. Dropship information is next, and this honestly matters a lot as there's more FPS gameplay being designed more recently, right?
We want to make dropships be more utilized. At the moment, they're probably not tanky enough to, like, they don't have enough health to survive the drop-in versus other ships. So we've got to bump that up to get people using them.
Dropships are literally the living manifestation of putting all your eggs in one basket.
They need to survive the drop for people to bother using them.
Now, I loved hearing that we want ships to be useful. I love hearing them say that they know that they're not, because then it's just a matter of time before they do something about it. Sometimes it feels like they're just not aware and move on to the next thing, right? And they're not paying attention to us. So the acknowledgement is always good, even though they may not have any intentions to do anything anytime soon. Next is something that just touches a bit on the drama this week.
Yeah, it comes down to when there's, again, I'm not going to get into it, but there's general marketing stuff, and then there's actually some laws and crowdfunding and pledge that you have to deliver the thing to those people who paid money before you can give it to stuff like that and whatever. So I don't have to worry about that stuff, which is why I don't have the information.
Well, given there was a small retraction to that we'll touch on shortly, this does not appear to be the case. So come back to this after we talk about flight blades and recognize that there is no way that this is correct. Yeah, it's not a marketing thing, right? Or it is just a marketing thing. It doesn't seem to be a legal thing. And let's have some fun with the last one.
Just name for me one ship that's coming this year that folks might not know about.
So go for the RSI Meteor.
The RSI Meteor. What is it?
What is it?
I'm just...
Show it punches above its weight. Get another drinking.
The RSI Meteor just drops a Macho Man elbow from the top rope down. All right, cool. The RSI Meteor.
Yeah.
So look forward to that at some point later this year. And I want to see the Reddit thread where people are wondering I want to see what they can evoke from the name and manufacturer alone and see who's right.
So is this that RSI salvage ship that they showed on SCL a while back, or do you think this is something different? Let me know in the comments. And with that, let's move into other updates. All right, noise, we start out with the sneak peek. This was some ground-based location. It looks very much like a Rayari location to me, so probably more coming with the regen crisis story, right? I assume people will think this is base building, but I feel like if it was, there would have been more like player personal items like suit lockers and stuff. So I'm going with the storyline stuff. Let me know what you guys think. Then for Invictus launch week, there's a ton of stuff here. They start out with the what's new post, and that's first, and they just touch on like the actual patch and what's in the convention, and like, you know, kind of, it's almost like a patch summary is what they're doing there, sort of, right? And then we got the manufacturer schedule. So if you're interested in renting a certain ship, if you can find, you know, like which one you want when, you know, these are also at the convention center themselves. So if you're thinking about renting something or buying something, that's basically where the schedule will be. And then Idris ship naming schedule is based on pledge, but if you melted it, it will be based off when you bought the ship back. So, ooh, people who melted their Idris might not get the names they wanted. And then an FAQ post does exist. So if you're really new and have no clue what Invictus is, start with that. And then there's also a free fly with a referral reward, but they just kind of keep giving out the same ships for it. So, yeah, people who have been around for a while, the referrals are not worth as much to them as they are to new people. And then for the ship sales, we'll start out with the Idris. I won't touch too much on these sales because, well, it's out of nearly everyone's price range, I would imagine. And even if it wasn't, you really can't beat bots who are just grabbing them up instantly. So it's 1,500 Warbond and 1,900 for store credit, but they're all kind of sold out constantly and are being sold at different times with a number of upgrades for the new weapons and such. And then for the MTC, it's $45 for something that most people won't use right now, which is kind of crazy because you can buy so much with $45, like a whole really finished video game, but there are a number of paints as well. There's also an FAQ, and there's a ton of stuff there for something so insignificant. So if you're really interested in the MTC, link is in the description, along with everything that we talk about in Week in Review. That is always a thing. Check the description for all of the sources of where all this information comes from. And then for dev posts, we start out with the flight blades. So if you have been living under a rock, these are new ship components that dropped. They've been hinted at for a while now, and they're called flight blades. They allow you to tune your ship to either have a faster top speed, and how we understand it is even better acceleration. And then the maneuverability one will give you better maneuverability with a, you know, downside of having less speed. So it's speed over maneuverability and then maneuverability over speed. Fantastic, right? Well, unfortunately, not so much, because they made a really odd decision to, instead of just making 2 blades, they decided that they want 2 for each ship in the game. So I think you'll see why in just a moment. And this is where everything went wrong. That top question there says, will they only be available on the store until the summer, right? Or that they will only be available on the store until the summer, I should say. It's not even a question, that's the answer to the question. And what does that even mean? What does the summer mean? I don't think many people expected that. If they assumed CIG is, like, nobody expected this, even the people who think CIG is horrible, right? Like, not many people thought that they were this bad. They're only selling these on the store right now, and they're only going to be selling them until the next patch. And then even worse, AI blades are coming next in the same way. After this mess, which could have been argued that, you know, they give a serious advantage, like AI blades could give a serious advantage to players potentially. We don't know what the downsides to them will be, so we're going to remain like objective here, or just calm and see what happens. But what we're seeing with the flight blades, it's not looking good, right? So we'll have to see. But that's not it, guys. They're also selling new weapons and bomb racks for a number of ships that literally change what they do. And the community basically was set ablaze. I've never seen anything like this. Like, I've also never had so much support for my feelings about anything in Star Citizen. It's usually, you know, I get a lot of kickback from people who watch my stuff and say that I'm just a drama queen or this and that. And we're all in agreement on this. There are very few people that are not. But this has been something I have warned a lot about over the years with what they've been doing. They've been inching towards this since they were since they said they were going to stop selling LTI. Since I've started making content in 2014, this is what's been going on. And because the community backlash, CIG said they're changing, nothing about the current blades and making no plans to stop selling them and other weapons and components. But they'll release them in game a little bit earlier with the blades that we have now and at the same time as the store sales in the future, setting a really bad precedent when the entire community was upset that you were selling them in the first place and didn't want you to. So Xylo goes on in front of everybody and says, we hear you, but we also don't care what you have to say. I mean, that's literally how it reads. And it's really unfortunate. So there continued to be backlash on that post, and we'll see what happens from here, but it's not looking good. And then for the referral rewards, which is like the last time Xylo made a post that everyone was pissed about, they did come with some good news. Now, just some good news. You will carry your prospects over. Now, if you don't know what a prospect is, it's a player that signed up using your code, but has not purchased anything yet. So there's still a chance that that person can count for you in the new program. Really good change, right? But then they just haven't addressed the fact that referrals that have paid, but are, you're in that middle ground before a new tier, they haven't decided what they're doing with those yet. And that's the big problem that a lot of people have, because those count and then they won't, right? So that was the thing that people were a bit upset about. So we'll see what happens with that. Again, they're saying, we hear you, but are they going to flight blade you? I don't know. And then Bar Citizen for CitizenCon. CIG wants to take that blade money they have now and send devs around the world to go drink beer with you at Bar Citizen. Great use of funds. This is awesome. But you need to prove your worth to them. So this post explains everything, basically. If you're running an event and you want a dev there, like, all jokes aside, check this out because they're doing really cool stuff. Obviously, you saw the Chinese Bar Citizen. Con 42 was just a couple days ago. They're doing really cool stuff there as well. If you're doing cool stuff, CIG wants to do cool stuff with you. Again, all jokes aside, this is pretty cool since they're not doing an event. If people are near you, they want to be with you. So I think that's really awesome. And then Wicklow and CZ ships. This turned out like the ships were appearing stock now instead of having their upgraded components. And I was actually giving CIG the benefit of the doubt that I thought maybe, just maybe, they were backing down from their pretty overreaching insurance system to send ships back to stock after they died. Yeah, no, this is just a bug. So that's really it. I thought it was maybe leaning, I obviously read too much into it, but it was maybe leaning into something I thought was going to end up being good. But that was week in review. So not a great week. A lot to cover on top of having to have a lot of other obligations that are going on as well. I did the Atmo Esports tournament with Moistdoodle. That was fantastic, as well as just covering and not stopping covering this Flightblade thing. Not until we get some concessions here. I think as players who play MMOs, especially MMOs that are as crazy in terms of the tech and trying to push boundaries like Star Citizen is, we as players need to make concessions that we have to understand that there's going to be some monetization in our game. They need to pay for servers, they need to pay for devs, and they need to pay to build the tech out to make the game that we're all interested in playing. But we let them know that we don't like the way that they're doing it now. And if they don't respond appropriately, the thing to do is not stop talking about it, right? I know a lot of people might get annoyed over the next few weeks or months where I will continuously bring this up, that this is a problem and that they are continuing to push further and further and further. The Atlas, people were like upset, and then they put it in game like they're trying to do with the blades really quickly, and then people stopped getting upset. But nobody thought that they would do this. And not nobody, I'm sure some of you did, but most of us didn't. And it's really unfortunate. So fingers crossed things get better. But as always, if you guys enjoy Week in Review, make sure you hit the like button. And also, leave a comment on anything that we discussed today, anything I might have missed as well. And always check out those links down in the description because it has all the sources for everything that we cover. And yeah, subscribe if you're really enjoying the show, and I'll catch you guys next week.